I am a homewrecker, and not by accident. And it worked. Throwaway for obvious reasons. I destroyed my husband's previous marriage and stole him away. I was a high school teacher, living with my boyfriend of 6 years. He worked in tech and had a great income, so I felt well provided for, and the low wages of teaching wasn't a great stress. Well, he dumped me out of the blue shortly before I turned 25. I was devastated. This was the man I gave my whole life to, and we had talked a lot about marriage and children, and were planning to get married and start a family before 26, but when COVID hit, that slowed everything down, and then, he just announced that our relationship was over, and that he would move out for a month so I could find a new place to live and head out. The house was his, but he gave me $15,000 because of the work that I had put in, which appreciated the value, so I could get started. I wish I was proud enough to refuse it. Everybody at the school was supportive, including the principal, who was a very good-looking, caring, and thoughtful man of 40. He was married, and I had met his wife at school functions. She's wonderful. His life was happy, his wife was happy, his kids were happy. I found myself lingering around the office a bit more, and appreciating the attention he was giving me in my post-breakup funk, even though it was strictly professional. I saw a picture of he and his wife on his desk, and I thought, I want that. I just grew insanely jealous, for her life, for this man, and I decided that I wanted to be her. I was a very fit, personable, curvy in the right places 26-year-old who goes to the gym. And his wife was a year older than he was, and had had a couple of kids. She was a little more fluffy. So I started wearing slightly less conservative clothing, and started subtly flirting with the principal. Not too much, but a little more attention. I asked him for help with school plans. I showed him how impressed I was with his knowledge. I occasionally brushed his hand. I looked at him in the eye for no reason and smiled. All subtle, but present. And I looked good. We spent a little more time together in school, and then finally, I asked him if he could come over and help me slide my fridge out to get behind it. It was just a dumb excuse, but I told him I thought it was a man-sized project, and I could do it. We only live about 3 miles away, so he agreed. A Saturday morning, I looked super casual, but casual/sexy, sweats, a crop top, etc. He slid the fridge out, easy, and I cleaned, and then made him coffee. We just hung out and talked for a couple of hours, and came around to how much I hated sleeping in an empty bed. The hardest part of getting dumped was that suddenly I was a nun, I joked, and then casually mentioned that I have a pretty high sex drive, and it wasn't easy to live celibate. He said something like, "It won't be hard for you to find someone, I'm sure." I just looked at him without breaking eye contact, and said, I could find someone, but I needed to be the right one. That was it, but it set the stage. 2 weeks later I had another need for help, setting up my Roku, and he was willing to come over again on Saturday. That's when I made my move, and that's when I seduced him. The sex was great. I made sure to be good at it. This wasn't just sex, it was a seduction, so I made it all about him, and did things to him his wife never did, or never would have done. I managed to keep this up with him for 15 months, for a time in there, I even had a boyfriend, and I told him that, but I was always available for him. Finally, last February, I told him that it was time for me to build a life, and I wanted it to be with him. I would leave my boyfriend. I wasn't that into him. He was a cover story, if he would leave his wife. After covering up a 15-month affair, his marriage was falling apart, and he was seeing more of his wife's flaws than ever before. I also gently hinted that I would have to let her know about our relationship if he didn't break it off, but if he did, we'd keep it our secret. He left her, and then we waited 6 months before going public, and made that our official start. Now he's planning to propose on Christmas. I feel terribly for what I did to his ex, and his kids. But I also don't. I saw my shot at happiness and I took it.